All right, everyone. So now that we have a sort of intuitive and visual understanding of addition and subtraction with negative numbers, thanks to the number line, let's take a look at maybe some potentially more, at first, intimidating looking examples. So let's take a look at all of these sorts of problems we had been working on so far. We were working on things like, let's say, 5, if I can write with this thing, there we go, 5 minus 7, say negative 3 minus, I don't know, 8, say negative 10 plus 17. We were working on problems like this. Now let's notice something about these problems. We were always starting with a positive or negative number. The number we started with could have been positive or negative, right? And then what were we doing? We were always adding or subtracting a positive number, right? We were starting with a positive or negative, but then we were always adding or subtracting some positive number. That's how we thought of it in terms of the number line, right? We knew where we started. We knew what operation we were doing. We knew whether we were going to the left on the number line, that's subtraction, or to the right on the number line, that's addition. And we knew how many units we were going in that direction, right? That's what made it relatively easy to solve problems like this. But problems like this aren't the only kind of negative number arithmetic problems that you're going to have to deal with. You're going to see things like this, maybe 3 plus negative 2. You'll see things like this. You might see something like negative 7 minus negative 5. Right? Now that's quite a bit different, at least it looks different at first, right? I mean, we would be able to say, okay, where do we start with both of these problems? Well, we would start at either 3 or negative 7, right? All right, we know what direction we would be moving on the number line, right? Because we still have either addition or subtraction. But then when the second number is a negative, that sort of throws a wrench in how we have been thinking about doing these problems, right? But in every case of addition or subtraction with negative numbers, we can always turn problems like this into problems we know how to do by rewriting these as either plus or minus some positive number. All right, then we'll be able to use the sort of number line reasoning that we had been working on. So let's see how we can do this. All right, let me erase our work here. Okay, so what if we had something like 10 plus negative 3? All right, how are we going to turn this into something that we're pretty comfortable with? Okay, well, we're adding a negative. So if you think about it, adding a negative is a lot like subtraction, isn't it? Like, for example, if you accrue a debt, or if you get a debt, you got something negative that's kind of like taking money away, right? So adding a negative is exactly like subtracting a positive, okay? 10 plus negative 3 is just 10 minus 3, and we know how to do 10 minus 3, right? That's 7. Let's do a couple more examples. Let's say 9 plus, let's say negative 10. What are we doing? We're starting with a 9. We're adding negative 10. We're adding a negative. That's the same as subtraction. This is 9 minus 10. Maybe you can even just then do this in your head. Okay, 9 take away 10, that's negative 1, right? Or you could draw out a number line because 9 and 10 are pretty manageable numbers to manipulate on a number line, right? Let's say we had, I don't know, negative 2 plus negative 3, right? Okay, what are we doing? We're starting at negative 2 and we're adding negative 3, adding a negative, that's the same as subtracting. So this is the same as negative 2 minus 3, right? And then you can think in terms of a number line, right? Okay, we start at negative 2. We're subtracting, going to the left. How many times? 1, 2, 3. We would end up at negative 5, right? All right, so whenever you see addition with a negative number, you can always turn that into a subtraction problem like these, and we know how to do those. All right, there is one other sort of scenario that you'll run across. That's if you saw something like, let's say, 3 minus negative, let's say, minus negative 10. All right, well, we just learned about adding negatives and how that's just the same as subtraction. So what are we doing here? We're subtracting negatives. So think about it. Doesn't it kind of make sense that subtracting a negative number is really like adding? Like if you take away something that's bad, isn't that like an active good thing? Right? So subtracting a negative number is the same as addition. So 3 minus negative 10 is nothing but 3 plus 10. And we know how to deal with that, right? 3 plus 10, that's 13. Let's use some more negative numbers. Let's say negative 4 minus, let's say negative 7. Negative 4 minus negative 7. We know we're starting at negative 4, and we're subtracting negative 7. Remember, subtracting a negative is the exact same thing as adding. So minus negative 7 is the same as plus 7. So negative 4 plus 7 is positive 3, right? We could look at a number line if we wanted to verify that. Start at 0 here, go back to negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, right? Go forward 7 places, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This would be positive 1, this would be positive 2, and we would have ended at positive 3, right? Right, and let's try a couple more examples of these with the number line. Let's say we had, say, positive, if I can write here, say we had positive 9 plus negative 4. Positive 9 plus negative 4, so we know we're starting at positive 9, we know that, right? And what are we doing? We're adding negative 4. Adding a negative is the same as subtraction, right? So this is nothing but 9 minus 4. You might just know how to do this in your head, right? Or we could use the number line, start at positive 9, go to the left 1, 2, 3, 4 times, right? And we end up at positive 5. All right, let's try a couple more. Get rid of this. Let's try negative 6 plus negative 2. Let's try negative 6 plus negative 2. So we know we start at negative 6, right? We're adding negative 2. Remember that adding a negative is the same as subtraction. So plus negative 2 is just minus 2, right? So we're starting at negative 6, and we're going where? To the left or to the right? We're going to the left 2 spaces, right? So start at negative 6, count to the left 1 times, 2 times. Where do we end up? We end up at negative 8. So negative 6 minus 2 is negative 8, which is, of course, the exact same thing as what we started with, negative 6 plus negative 2. All right, let's try maybe 2 more. Let's try 2 more. Let's try, say, 7 minus negative 3. 7 minus negative 3. All right, we know we're starting at 7. Then what are we doing? We're subtracting a negative. Subtracting a negative is addition. So minus negative 3 is the same as plus 3. Then 7 plus 3, that's just 10, right? We could start at 7, go to the right because we're doing addition. 1, 2, 3 times, end up at positive 10, right? Let's try one more. Let's just try one more. Actually, let's try 2 more. Let's do negative 5 minus negative 9. Negative 5 minus negative 9. All right, we know we're starting at negative 5. We're subtracting negative 9. Subtracting a negative is the same thing as addition. So minus negative 9 is the same thing as plus 9. So we have negative 5 plus 9. Start at negative 5. We're now adding, so we're going to the right 9 spaces. So start at negative 5 and move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Where do we end up? We end up at positive 4. So negative 5 plus 9, which is the same thing as negative 5 minus negative 9. The answer is positive 4. Let's just do one more just to demonstrate a certain property. Let's do one more. Let's do negative 6 minus negative 6. Negative 6 minus negative 6. Well, think about it. We're starting with something and taking that exact same thing away from itself, right? So you might have a good idea already what the answer has to be, but let's go through with the process that we've been using. We're starting at -6, and then we're subtracting -6. Subtracting a negative is the same as addition, so we have -6 plus +6. You might, again, have a good idea what we're going to end up with. Let's try it out. Start at -6. Move to the right because we're adding 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where did we end up? We ended up at 0. All right, now you guys can go ahead and try some examples below this video.